Why are primates incapable of human speech, while lesser animals such as parrots can emulate human speech? Non-human primates lack the neurological regions responsible for producing speech as well as the musculature in the throat. There are several theories of how language and learned vocalizations evolved in humans, songbirds, parrots, bats, and cetaceans, whales, dolphins, but a general consensus is that it arose independently several times. Some of my favorite neuroscientists who write about this are Eric Jarvis and Johann Bollwees. Both are songbird researchers. Jarvis has a 3-part series on YouTube about this if you want to learn more. I haven't watched it but have seen him lecture a few times and he does a great job explaining it. Also, I wouldn't refer to parrots as lesser animals in terms of intelligence. Corvids and parrots have exhibited a wide range of intelligent behaviors that was once considered only available to humans and some other apes such as tool use and recursive learning. A recent study has shown that the density of neurons in birds' brains, especially parrots and songbirds, are comparable to humans and primates. Most of these answers are mainly about primates, but not much about parrots. Thing is, parrots don't emulate human speech. They are just very good at repeating sounds. When a parrot says, "Polly wants a cracker," it's not really talking. It's simply repeating less than sound a greater than as it has learned it gets an interaction when it does so. I can't think of any evidence that parrots can put words in sequences or use them in any way that indicates an actual language. They can just reproduce the sounds they hear nearby. I agree with you up to the point that you suggest parrots don't use language or speech. They certainly speak to each other, and large parrots such as African greys have been shown to have an understanding of the words and phrases they use regularly. It's not exactly that. Parrots are smart enough to assume the sounds we, humans, make are meaningful. Why? Because birds, including parrots, make sounds, and those sounds are often meaningful. So they can assume that if we both make sounds, we both probably attach meaning to the sounds. Intelligence recognizes intelligence. Anyway, once they make this connection they will mimic our sounds. If we give them a reward they will continue to mimic the sounds they hear. So a parrot will make the sounds that get them what they want. If the sound, hey, gets you to pay attention to it, it will use the sound, hey, to get your attention. If you hold a treat and repeat, "Kill all humans," until the parrot repeats, "Kill all humans," and then you give it the treat, it will use the sound, "Kill all humans," when it wants a treat. Here's the thing though. Do you consider it speaking if the parrot then first uses the sound, hey, to get your attention, followed by the sound, "Kill all humans," to tell you it wants a treat? I do. The only reason the sound, "Kill all humans," means kill all humans to you is because you learned that. The parrot thinks, "Kill all humans" means, "Can I have a treat?" because that what it was led to believe. Don't believe? Try the same on a 2-year-old human. You'll have them saying, "Kill all humans," all day long. Don't actually do this with a 2-year-old human. The sounds of language are arbitrary, to all species. In this way, the parrots are not just mimicking us, instead they are speaking to us as well as they are able, even if it's only about as good at it as a baby human. It's because of their throats. Human throat is designed in a way that it can be willfully moved in a way to produce delicate sounds. Primates' throats are not. Primates do have a certain capacity to learn language though. Chimpanzees have been told sign language. Of course they're not capable to use it on a human level, and they even pass their language knowledge onto offspring. Just a side note, one shouldn't automatically assume that closer related to humans the most intelligent animals. Capuchin monkeys possess some cognitive abilities superior to apes, and the same is possibly true of some cetaceans, corvidae and parrots. Parrots produce sounds in a complete different way as humans, so as far as I know the way they produce sound is more different to us than that of apes such as chimpanzees. Primates do have a certain capacity to learn language though. Chimpanzees have been told sign language. Of course they're not capable to use it on a human level, and they even pass their language knowledge onto offspring. While this is absolutely true, I also think it's important to note that a chimp or gorilla has never posed a question to a human before. They seem to not understand that other things can have thoughts. I got to listen to a real neat podcast on expanding thought within the deaf community. The TLDR is that as the concept of thinking expanded in the deaf community, i.e. more words surrounding the concept, the deaf community was able to critically think about problems in new ways, younger generations showed complex understanding of word problems that older generations did not. So perhaps the issue isn't that they are not capable, but that we haven't provided them the tools to understand. That's a great analogy. I have a cousin who is deaf. I asked her one time how she thinks. She said it's almost like typing something out, but it didn't work that way until she got a computer. Chimpanzees actually do exhibit theory of mind. Imagine putting a subordinate chimpanzee and a dominant chimpanzee on opposite sides of the room, with a small barrier in the middle. If you put two pieces of food in the room, one in the open where both can see it, and one behind the barrier so that only the subordinate can see it, then the subordinate will go for the food behind the barrier instead of the food in the open. However, if you make the barrier transparent, then they just go for the closest piece of food. This suggests that they do know what the dominant chimpanzee is able to see, think. Chimpanzees' females also groom subordinate males while the male hides behind a rock, out of view of the dominant male. So from the dominant's perspective, the female is just sitting next to a rock, when in reality she is grooming, and probably going to mate with, the subordinate male. These kinds of behaviors are only possible if they understand that other individuals sense different things. They seem to not understand that other things can have thoughts. Coco blamed her kitten for ripping a sink off the wall. Would telling a lie be a form of manipulating others' thoughts? I'm sure it's much more complicated, just a thought though. Most of the stuff Coco says come to us via her interpreters, who don't seem to be very rigorous in their interpretations, so we don't know for sure if Coco really blamed it on the kitten. That would show also that Coco believes that the caretakers believe that the kitten has an intent separate from Coco's intent, which shows that Coco knows that the kitten can think separately from Coco. The claim that Coco the gorilla and other apes who have learned sign language do not ask questions is actually very hotly debated. On one hand, you have caretakers and psychologists, anthropologists who are most similar with the individual apes who all tend to say with conviction that the apes all ask questions. Then you have language experts who claim that they do not, that instead they simply but only make demands, and infer from responses the reasons why the demands were or were not met. So far, even the most complex sign language learned by an ape has not been complex enough to form fully human sentences. Personally, I don't think that is reason enough to dismiss what is obviously probing as a lack of questioning, and instead I would call it the same thing as asking questions. A source would be cool. Link: I looked into Kanzi a lot before. He even understands sarcasm and knows how to make fire with rocks. He learned it as an infant, whereas most bonobos and chimps are taught upon reaching a certain age, so I think that really helped. I am still trying to find the video where he actually speaks. You'll have to listen closely, though, so bear with me a minute. Edit. I originally had this as a separate comment, but thought it would be more convenient here. Link 848 shows the voice analysis, but the explanation of his speech starts a little prior to that. But I think the whole video is worth watching. There was another video a while back that was over an hour long. You could kind of understand him saying ball, but if you just want proof that he can sort of speak English, this video should be enough. Parrots evolved to emulate the sounds of their surroundings to survive, to confuse the competition or predators. Monkeys' environment so far has demanded that they use their voice only for advance warning or intracommunal communication. What, scientifically, makes these animals lesser? I think your question is misguided in origin. Birds evolved differently in order to mimic many sounds. Primates today have a common ancestor with humans. We don't trace our lineage directly to them, so it makes sense that we have abilities they lack. I think you should be careful of thinking of any species as lesser because it's not scientific and won't help you to reach accurate conclusions. Right. Humans aren't more evolved, we have just evolved differently. Also, humans are primates.